EV crisis, why automakers are suddenly slamming the brakes. For years, we were told the future was settled. Electric cars were inevitable. Gasoline was finished. Anyone who questioned it was in denial. Then something strange happened. Automakers started pulling back. Factories slowed. Production paused. And behind closed doors, executives began using a word no one expected. Crisis. When the Biden administration announced a goal that half of all new cars sold by 2030 would be electric, the auto industry didn't hesitate. Ford promised massive battery plants. General Motors vowed to go almost fully electric within a decade. Volkswagen and Europe's biggest brands pledged sweeping transformations. Luxury giants like BMW and Mercedes-Benz said electrification would define their future. The message was loud and confident. Gas cars were on the way out. EV were the only road forward. Doubt was dismissed. Skeptics were mocked. But reality didn't follow the script. Behind the optimism, the numbers began to crack. Ford quietly admitted its EV division is bleeding money, billions every single year, with losses projected at $4.5 billion in 2024 alone. General Motors revealed something even more alarming. It loses around $8,000 on every electric vehicle it sells. Volkswagen's electric lineup became plagued with software glitches, laggy systems, and interiors that felt outdated before they even launched. Customer trust started to erode. And even Tesla, the pioneer, the benchmark, hasn't escaped criticism. Build quality issues, inconsistent service, design choices that frustrate everyday drivers. The revolution suddenly looked unfinished. Then came the warning sign no one could ignore. Inventory. Walk through dealership lots across the United States and you'll see it immediately. Rows of brand new EV, clean, fully charged, and untouched. Some have been sitting there for months. Dealers say customers walk in curious, then walk out unconvinced. Meanwhile, gas cars and hybrids continue to sell fast. The problem isn't isolated. Volkswagen and Mercedes-Benz have both slowed production in Europe. In China, the world's largest EV market, demand is cooling as government subsidies begin to disappear. The momentum is fading. And suddenly, Toyota doesn't look so foolish anymore. For years, critics accused Toyota of being behind the times for focusing on hybrids instead of full EV. Now that caution looks strategic. Because consumers are hesitating. They like EV in theory. But when it's time to sign the paperwork, doubts take over. The first barrier is price. According to Kelley Blue Book, the average electric vehicle in 2023 cost over $53,000. A gas-powered car, closer to $48,000. That gap may not sound massive until you factor in inflation, high interest rates, rising insurance costs, and everyday expenses crushing household budgets. Even with tax credits, the sticker shock is real. Then comes reliability. Surveys from J.D. Power and Consumer Reports tell a troubling story. Electric vehicles consistently score lower in dependability than traditional cars. Why? Software, sensors, complex electronic systems. The more code a car relies on, the more points of failure it introduces. Glitches don't just annoy drivers, they erode confidence. And confidence is everything when you're spending tens of thousands of dollars. So now automakers are facing an uncomfortable truth. The transition isn't failing, but it isn't working the way it was promised either. Hype sold the future. Reality is delivering hesitation. And until cost, reliability, and convenience align, the EV dream may remain just that, a dream, still waiting to fully arrive. Now for drivers accustomed to the proven durability of gas engines, these issues can be a deal breaker. But perhaps the biggest frustration of all is charging. America's charging network is nowhere near where it needs to be. Secretary of Energy Jennifer Granholm made headlines when she attempted to take a road trip in a Cadillac Lyriq EV, only to run into broken chargers, crowded stations, and delays so bad that one frustrated family called the police after being blocked from charging. Journalists who have tested EVs on long trips report similar headaches. Rachel Wolf of the Wall Street Journal described her test drive bluntly, saying she spent more time waiting for her car to charge than she did sleeping. For many drivers, charging anxiety is worse than range anxiety. A car that theoretically drives 300 miles per charge is useless if the infrastructure to recharge it quickly and reliably does not exist. J.D. Power reports that 1 in 5 EV drivers who pull up to a charging station end up leaving without gaining a single mile of range. For a technology that was supposed to simplify driving, the experience often feels more complicated than ever. The automaker rebellion. Faced with these realities, automakers are beginning to revolt against their own commitments. Ford recently paused construction of a $3.5 billion EV battery plant in Michigan, despite $1.7 billion in state incentives. Executives openly admitted they are unsure whether such a facility could ever be profitable under current market conditions. General Motors and Honda, who once planned to develop affordable $30,000 EVs together, scrapped the partnership altogether. They concluded that building truly affordable electric cars is not feasible with today's technology and supply chain constraints. Tesla, meanwhile, delayed its plans for a new $1 billion factory in Mexico, citing concerns over profitability and demand. Volkswagen has quietly slowed down its European expansion projects. In other words, nearly every major player is hesitating. The same companies that once insisted EVs were the only path forward are now admitting that consumer demand is weak, production costs are high, and the business model may not add up for years to come. Political pressure and public backlash. The role of politics cannot be ignored. The Biden administration has tied its environmental legacy to the rapid adoption of EVs, offering billions in subsidies and loans to push automakers toward electrification. Ford alone received a $9 billion loan to expand its EV capacity. Yet industry insiders argue that government mandates are racing far ahead of consumer demand, creating an artificial push that could backfire. In late 2023, nearly 4,000 car dealers signed a joint letter to President Biden, warning that EVs were piling up unsold and urging him to slow the timeline. Their message was blunt. Political targets mean little if customers refuse to buy the cars. The debate has also entered the broader political arena. Donald Trump has repeatedly mocked the forced EV transition as stupid, promising to put an end to what he calls EV madness if re-elected. His approach emphasizes consumer choice, arguing that people should not be forced into electric cars if they prefer gas. Biden, by contrast, remains committed to using government policy to drive adoption. The split highlights how electrification has become not just a technological issue, but a political battlefront. Stories of frustration, statistics tell part of the story, but real-world experiences reveal just how bumpy the EV road has become. Families have reported being stranded on long road trips when chargers malfunction. Some drivers waited hours to recharge only to discover that the equipment was too slow or broken. Owners of newer EVs have been shocked at how quickly their resale values dropped as newer models came out, often heavily discounted with incentives. For many early adopters, the frustrations have been enough to swear off EVs altogether. Surveys suggest that as many as 40% of EV owners say they would not buy another one, an astonishingly high rate of dissatisfaction for a product category that is supposed to represent the future. Automakers banking on repeat customers may find themselves disappointed if those numbers hold. The economics that don't add up. When EVs were first promoted, they were sold as both environmentally friendly and economically sensible. But so far, the math has not worked out. Manufacturing costs remain stubbornly high. Raw materials like lithium and cobalt are volatile and often sourced from unstable regions. Infrastructure costs for charging networks are enormous, and progress has been slow despite government funding. Meanwhile, consumers face higher purchase prices, uncertain resale values, and the possibility that future battery replacements could cost thousands of dollars. Even the supposed advantage of cheaper fuel has been undermined. In many cities, using DC fast chargers can be more expensive than filling up a gas tank. The so-called EV rebellion by automakers is not a rejection of the idea of electric cars altogether. It is a recognition that the market cannot be forced by government mandates alone. The transition must align with consumer needs and economic realities. Otherwise, the industry risks building cars that nobody wants to buy. That was all from us today for this video. For more similar content, make sure to subscribe to Rev Without Roar. See you in the next one.